It's Jeff here with the Bluegrass Brunch, and today I have the absolute honor and privilege to speak to a gentleman who is known as the father of modern bluegrass, the urban bluegrass whiz, the great banjo liberationist, and the father of banjo fusion. I bring to you Tony Trischka. Tony, how are you today?
I'm excellent, thank you, on this beautiful sunny day. And I must say that, quote, the father of modern bluegrass. I'm one of the, perhaps, if anything, one of the fathers of modern bluegrass, but I appreciate the quote.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tony, we're talking about MerleFest here, and Tony, you're going to be a big part of MerleFest happening there out in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. How excited are you for that?
I'm very excited. I haven't been in a bunch of years, so it's great to come back with my EarlJam band. So I'm really excited.
So Tony Trischka's EarlJam going to be there featuring Michael Daves, and Michael is an incredible guitar player. You have quite the band that's going to be there with you as well, Tony. Can you tell us a little bit about those folks that will be there supporting you?
Absolutely. So again, as you say, Michael Daves, who is an incredible guitar player and an amazing singer, and Casey Dreesen on fiddle, North Carolina's own Casey Dreesen, who has played the Bela Fleck and just about everybody, really. And he's just a monster on the fiddle. And a gentleman from Brooklyn, New York, the bluegrass capital of the world, as I like to say, Jared Engel, and just a great walker, slapper. He slaps that bass around like nobody's business. Anyway, so it's going to be a really fun time. We've been doing this show for a couple of years now, so everything's in place and we're ready to go.
Yeah, it's incredible. I listened to the EarlJam album that you did, and you played with so many great players and like even up-and-comers. I even hate to say like that they're up-and-comers anymore because they're really just doing a lot of things. You know, we're talking about Billy Strings, Molly Tuttle, Bronwyn Keith Hines. You know, creating that album, how much fun was that?
It was a lot of fun. It was sort of like the dream team. Okay, well, I've got this project and let's see who I can get to do this. And everyone agreed. And, I go back a ways with Billy, not way back, but I've sat in with his show a couple of times. And Molly Tuttle, I've known her since the Berklee College of Music when I would teach there and do one-on-ones with her. And also I did a Christmas show, which I still do. And she was part of that. And we did an album at Levon Helm's barn in Woodstock, New York that she was on. So I've known her forever. And now she's like Molly Tuttle. So, so I have histories with just about all these folks. And it's great to see how they're just blooming like crazy now.
100%. Yeah, Tony, it's very odd that well, it's not very odd. I mean, anybody, I guess, who follows bluegrass music and who's followed your career, you keep on mentioning all of these places in New York. And even before you made a comment how Brooklyn, New York is kind of like the epicenter of bluegrass music. How do you think that kind of came to be?
Yeah, I mean, it goes way back. You can go back to 1964 because David Grisman was from New Jersey originally, but lived in New York and played with a group called the New York Ramblers, a guy named Willie Winston on banjo. And I could just go on, but there was a really strong bluegrass presence there, not to mention Eric Weisberg. He was the banjo player on the dueling banjos that we all know. He's very much a New Yorker, wonderful banjo player, one of my big heroes. And just over the years, there was a guy named Roger Sprung, who was he had a group called the Progressive Bluegrassers. And he was the first Northerner to really dig into bluegrass banjo, Scruggs style banjo, back in the 50s. So for years, there's been this bluegrass ferment in New York City. And then I moved there in 1973 from Syracuse, New York, and played with a group called Breakfast Special, a guy named Kenny Kosek on fiddle, Andy Statman on mandolin, Stacy Phillips on dobro. And we were doing all this kind of crazy music. We do Jewish music, bluegrass, Hawaiian music, and we play these festivals. And people might look kind of askew. Who are these guys anyway? But, we were all coming out of bluegrass. So there's sort of these waves of bluegrass. And then there's still, and then Chris Thiele and the Punch Brothers all moved to New York City at one point, and some of them are still there. So Chris is still there, in fact. So somehow New York is a magnet for bluegrass. Obviously, it's coming from the South originally, but there has been a strong bluegrass presence in New York City for many years.
Yeah, I mean, all those names that you mentioned, wow, that's incredible. A lot of people always assume that bluegrass is kind of like an Appalachian thing, or Appalachian, I guess either way, people will pronounce that. But yeah, it's incredible. All of those folks, and including yourself, that were there in New York doing things. Do you think the folk music movement that was kind of going on in the mid 60s had something to do with that as well?
It might have, they call it the folk scare of the kind of the late 50s or mid 50s through the early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a product of that because my parents listened to Pete Seeger and the Beavers and groups like that, and so I grew up hearing this kind of music, folk music. Lead Belly, that kind of thing. And then Woody Guthrie, of course. And then when I really started getting into it through the Kingston Trio and the Limelighters and groups like that, the more popular groups in the late 50s and into the 60s, that's how I first got into this. I started playing folk guitar. I started writing protest songs because I was really into Bob Dylan, like when I was 12 years old, playing the guitar, and I wrote some protest songs of all things. And then I heard a Kingston Trio album called The Kingston Trio at Large, and there's a song called MTA on there, and their banjo player, Dave Guard, took this kind of a proto or faux Scruggs style solo, and I heard that and went, whoa, this is what I have to do now. And I abandoned the guitar for the banjo at that point. That would have been around 1963. So the folk music movement really grabbed me and moved me into bluegrass. But, over the years, I've still love folk music, and I was friendly with Pete Seeger in his later years, and I had Ramblin' Jack Elliott sing a song on one of my more recent albums. And so I've always had this fondness for folk music, and it's part of my background, part of who I am.
That's very cool. Now, Tony Trischka's EarlJam featuring Michael Dave's going to be at MerleFest Friday. So at 12:45, you can catch them at the Watson stage. Then later on in the day, 5:15 at the Hillside stage. And then Tony will be at the Autograph tent at 7 p.m. And then, wow, this is going to be a long day, Tony. 11 o'clock p.m. at the Walker Center stage, too.
When do I get to rest? Oh, never mind. That's okay.
Yeah, that was a question that I had for you. That's going to be a really long day, but, it seems like time flies. There's something about MerleFest where time just kind of flies and goes by pretty quick.
And music energizes one also. You can be really tired and then walk on stage and get totally energized. So can I just add one more thing about our show if we have the time? Just that my show is a tribute to Earl Scruggs. That's the name EarlJam. I got a hold of 200 recordings of jam sessions with Earl Scruggs and John Hartford, doing songs we'd never heard them do before, and hearing Earl doing things he'd never played before. And so I started transcribing Earl's solos. This was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and decided probably people will never hear these jams. So I'm going to record an album where in every note that I play is note for note what Earl Scruggs played. And so that's what I did for the album. And so in our show, if we're doing like a 2-set night, the first half of the show is basically an overview of Earl's career with Lester Flatt and Bill Monroe, et cetera, et cetera. And then the second half of the show is tunes from these jam sessions. So that's basically what the show is.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible. So if you're out at MerleFest, make sure that you catch it. Tony, so I have a milestone birthday coming up this year. Is it ever too late to learn how to play the banjo?
It's never too late. It's never too late. I'm not going to get all merchandy on you here, but since you mentioned that, I do have an online banjo school, and most of the people, it's the Tony Trischka School of Banjo with a creative title. Most of the people on it are people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Not everybody, but there are a lot of people that, I used to play the banjo when I was a kid or when I went to school, and then I had a family, I had to go to work, and now I'm coming back to it all these years later. So it's never too late.
Make sure that you check out Tony's website too, TonyTrischka.com. Has all the details about EarlJam, some other dates that Tony's going to be doing later on this year. And Tony, you'll be coming to Frankfurt Music Festival as well in Frankfurt, Illinois. That's right here in my wheelhouse. So I'm hoping to see you there as well, too.
Oh, I hope you come by and say hello. That would be wonderful.
Most definitely. Tony, I appreciate you taking some time. It's truly an honor and a pleasure. And most importantly, have fun at MerleFest.
I'm planning on it. Thank you so much. I hope to see you there.
Yeah, we'll see you, Tony. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks so much.